Kemba Mitchell. Pronouns are she and her. At 46 years old, still figuring out who I am and, you know, just how I'm as I'm navigating through this world.
We invited parents to talk about Black mental health.
As my daughters are now full-grown adults, and I don't know, I'm getting to know myself again because motherhood took a lot of my time and my focus. So now it's about figuring out what I want to do, who I am. So I think it's a great moment for me.
My name is MsBeen. I'm also known as MsBeen, and I go by she and her. Who is she? She is me, and I am her, and I'm growing into her. That is one thing that COVID has really brought me, was always asking, like, who are you? You know, and even when people ask me, who am I, you have to like hesitate. So I can't tell you exactly. I could tell you what she's been through. I could tell you where she's at right now. I can't tell you who Amanda is. She's an experience.
Balarama Holness, him, he. I am a twin, a father, a new father. Baby Bella is 2 years old. Formerly played with the Montreal Alouettes, so a big athlete, an avid football, basketball player, community organizer, candidate for mayor of Montreal, Jamaican, Canadian, and an inhabitant of this planet Earth.
I have to say, in terms of physical, our skin, like the tones in our skin, and just, it's like, it's like a blessing. So I think of royalty, it's really, I think it's just, we're really powerful beyond what we ever probably know, you know. So I'm very happy and proud to be Black.
My favorite thing is being able to bounce back from everything that I go through as a Black woman, or because I'm a Black woman. The best thing about being a Black person or being a Black woman is that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. That is the best part of it all. I'll have to say. And so it's like everything and anything that I do from here is for them, because everything that they have done and went through is for me.
The strength of identity, knowing who you are, understanding that there is power, there is richness, there is history, there is culture, and that has extreme amount of value to not only to Black communities, but through man and human and womankind.
Healing, so for me, I see it in two ways. I see it as a bit of an anxiety, because I know just through my personal life, there's a lot of things that I probably have subconsciously hidden, because, you know, just that's how your brain is. If there's trauma or anything like that, it protects you. And so there's a lot of, I don't really remember much when I was younger. My earliest memory actually is when I was 5, and I don't even know if that's normal. And it's really pockets of things that I remember. But, so I see it as a little bit, I mean, when you start to dig deep, there's things that may surface that you're not prepared to deal with. But I also see healing as getting to the point where you free your mind and you're able to just deal, and that will probably assist with you know, some relationships that you have. And so I see it as a very positive thing, but just you have to work at it and work to get where you need to be.
I feel like my generation is starting to heal, you know. Yeah, I didn't talk about that with my parents. I didn't experience it from them. But it's just one of the most important things that we need. We need air, we need water, we need shelter, we need love, we need to heal. We need to heal, man, because we got generations coming up under us, We can't repeat, we can't repeat the same stuff. It's not the time.
1 in 5 Canadians has or will experience a mental illness in their lifetime.
Just being Black is exhausting. And whether you're, leading in the space of leading the community, or just, going to school, or just, it's exhausting. And the level of microaggressions that hit us on a daily basis is enough to send all of us to therapy. Like it's just when you think about it. And I always say that we don't have the privilege of, going through life and just, hopping and skipping and singing with the birds, because daily, you're thinking about our brothers and sisters being murdered and harassed, by the individuals in those positions that can do so without any just cause. And you think about the way that, you're in your workplace, and as much as you earn that spot, they may find every reason for you not to get promoted, and it's not about utilizing our race as a reason why we can't get ahead. It's understanding the systems in place to ensure that if you do, you're going to have to work extremely hard, and you probably have to actually break bread with certain individuals to get there. So, and our counterparts, they don't have to deal with that. So I think race-based trauma is serious, and I literally think I believe it's in our DNA. And so for what our ancestors went through, some of them went through, when you're talking about being in enslavement, I think there's a lot of things that are in our DNA. And this could be the reason, and I think my personal opinion is that, relationships, be it with men, female, whatever, why is it so difficult? What is the problem? How come we can't? A lot of times there cannot be successful relationships. There's reasons for that we need to understand to get past it. So I think that being Black is, although powerful, and I wouldn't see any other way, it is extremely challenging, at least in this atmosphere that I live in. Knowing that no matter what you do, you will be judged based on what you look like.
Living in a society in which certain people are treated differently, and those persons happen to be people of color or Indigenous persons, has a huge impact on your physical and mental health. And that is expressed through a range of different issues, whether it is schizophrenia, whether it is early death. Life expectancy for people of color is lower than that of the national average. So it's not just a question of mental health, it's also physical health. And it has a weathering effect across populations. And beyond that, while people of color are analyzing how to rid themselves from this oppressive state and to emancipate themselves, there are others who use their creativity and their mind for many other things, like going to the moon and going to Mars, while many people of color are worried about microaggressions in their everyday life experiences. So this has a huge impact, not just on mental health, but on our creativity, on our entrepreneurship, on our ability to simply live in liberty and dignity in society.
Family doctors in Canada were often used as a pathway to mental health services and specialists. However, the inequalities in the healthcare system have made it that fewer Black individuals in Canada have access to a family doctor. In their research, Anderson et al. Reported that only 35% of Black Caribbean and 51% of Black African participants had access to a family physician, compared to 62% of white participants.
Now that I think about it, I actually do, because especially now in this climate, it's all over the place, social media and stuff like that, and just be more aware of your mental state. And I think through just educating yourself, you understand that it's not normal to always be tired. It's not normal to go through stages of happy, sad, happy, sad. This is not normal. And healing can encompass many things. It doesn't have to be the traditional, the clinical way of going about it. So I think people are becoming more open to just seeing how they can manage to heal.
You have to be honest with your feelings and be honest with how you feel. You want to ensure that, so my daughter, baby Bella, when she feels a certain way, she has to be honest with the way she feels and communicate that. And I think that is one step in the right direction. Another issue is that you have to make sure people don't judge. I see many people who see people who are homeless on the street and say they can go get a job at McDonald's, but they don't understand these people live through maybe physical, sexual assault, could be schizophrenic, could have all kinds of things that are impacting their life, that are making them homeless. So it's ensuring that society at large does not judge those who have fallen through the cracks and who are living through mental distress on a systemic, continuous basis, and ensuring that those who do have healthy outlooks on life, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, to ensure that they are supporting as opposed to judging those who are on the periphery of society. So I would hope that raising a new generation of Montrealers, Canadians, people from, my daughter is a quarter Italian, half Jamaican, half a quarter French Canadian, to ensure that she understands, yes, her diversity and all that, but also understands that there are people in society who might be different, whether it is mentally or physically, but to not judge the person as they are, but maybe have a more compassionate, more loving approach to assisting and connecting with other people. Power. If you're able to heal yourself, you empower yourself. And the reason why the plight of the Black community continues is because the healing has never been accomplished. And if you are continuously scarred or reliving racism or reliving trauma, well, you're never able to heal, and then you're never able to really truly empower yourself. So once you're able to heal those wounds, that's when you become empowered.
Black healing is grounding, is universal. It is our communication with our ancestors. Black healing is now. Black healing is consistent. Black healing is the smile on my face. Yeah.
Well, first, it's about recognizing that there's an issue. I think the pandemic has removed the veil of ignorance to say that people are dealing with mental health issues. And I think it raised a level of compassion for people with mental health issues, whether it's people who are elderly, people who are young, people across all different backgrounds. The pandemic disproportionately impacted people of color, but also impacted many Canadians across the board. So awareness and recognition is one thing, and I think we've gained in that with the pandemic. And then it's about redistribution of resources to ensure that there are resources that are attributed and differentiated to people of color. Having a mental health professional that understands your reality, understands your history, understands your culture is essential. And it's going to take a reallocation of resources to ensure that we're investing in those areas.
Definitely have the education, the conversation, because the stigma is always going to be there, right? I think with the younger generation, they're probably more open to it, but the older generation, no. I know that for the older generation, especially let's say in the Caribbean or some countries in Africa, like churches where you do that healing, and you give it to God, and that's just the way culturally for a lot of people that is. And although I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because that is another source, perhaps. But the thing that I think about is, how much would you be open to speak to, let's say, your pastor or your imam? How much would you? So I don't think it's that easy. I don't think it's that easy, and I think you can really use a combination of things to work on it. And I hope so. I would start with educating and having that conversation, and perhaps people who have benefited from it speak up and speak about their experience. And I think now it's the time that people, because it's just out there in social media and you have like these celebrities talking about it, it makes it more relatable, or people are more open to it. But I think you still have a lot of work to do.
It's not about healthcare being accessible, it's about information and support. And there's not enough of. We feel that doctors know everything and anything. When a doctor looks at me, they'll just be like, oh, you have a runny nose, you have a cold. Not knowing, maybe there's something else. There's something else underlying that, So it was difficult for me because I couldn't find somebody who was, there was maybe 2 people that knew to ask the right questions, who knew that I wasn't asking. Like, somebody's about to cut open my eye. You want to know what is the procedure? Why is this happening? What's the healing time? And for me, I was sitting in that office bawling. Like, I couldn't get past, there's diabetes in my eyes. I couldn't get past that. So getting to the point where, there's natural remedies, it was like I wasn't even really there. And so I had some people pulling at me saying, listen, you could do this, you can do that. I was dragging myself, just trying to survive. So there's also, people that will come and be like, okay, well, listen, the doctor says you have to do this, you have to do that. That's not my character. I'm like, the doctor said that? Okay, well, let's go over here then. Let's go do this instead, and that's why my son is here today. So it's just very, 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 very important to have access to information. To be able to call an organization or call somebody that can call somebody who's been through this. It's important to have somebody who has more than just your back, but has your lifeline. In Quebec, we have Medicare. We pay our taxes. So access to healthcare is there. I don't know what it's like on an immigration status, but we do have what we need. But in terms of being in a doctor's office, there's some doctors that don't even allow you to bring somebody in there. I had told my doctor, I'm like, I'm going to record this. And they were like, well, no, we don't allow recordings. Well, why? Those papers that you have to sign. My eyes were full of tears and puffed up. And again, like my vision was blurred. So I could barely read what's going on. All I knew was just sign this, like just get it over with. Not knowing that I'm giving students permission to play with my face. So it's things like that.
In Aiden et al.'s research, 66% of the participants expressed that most people think less of a person who has a mental illness.
Be vulnerable. Whether it's the interview today or whether I'm speaking to thousands of people or a journalist, my heart beats at the same rate. I am open to being vulnerable. There's strength in vulnerability. There's strength in knowing who you are, which was the first question, your identity. And by being vulnerable, well, you liberate yourself in a way. So there's no mask, there's no pretending. You don't have to act a certain way. You could just be yourself. And that is extremely empowering.
Well, my first daughter I had very young. And as any parent knows, there's no rule book to raise your children. And, you know, you can mimic how you were raised or you can do it differently. And I kind of took some from how I was raised and kind of figured it out on my own. And I think I was so caught up with just not meeting those stereotypes as a young Black mother. And so my children had to be dressed to the nine. They had to be well-mannered, and it's, you know, it's just their hair had to be perfect because I felt I was always fighting against that stereotype of me. And then when it came to the parenting part, you know, I think I made a couple of mistakes for my first daughter anyway, just because I was super protective. What I did make sure that they was very proud of who they are, as my mother did. So in our household, there was only representation of Black people. I did not allow, not a storybook in our house, not even wrapping paper. So Christmas, when I used to celebrate Christmas, the Christmas would come and it was very difficult. I mean, if you actually pay attention, it's very difficult to find. You're never gonna find wrapping paper with Black Santa. The angels are white, everything's white. So I would go for stars and, you know, reindeer and just try to be creative as I can, because I made it a point that nothing in our house will come in that is not reflective of them. And so that's what my mother did. And it worked for me. Yeah, it worked for me, and this is what I passed on to them. So to this day, my daughters are, they wear their natural hair. I mean, maybe they'll do a weave here and there, but they wear their natural hair. They're very in tune with who they are. And I'm proud of that. And I think, but it's not easy, because no matter what you do in your home, once they leave the home, they're subjected to these Eurocentric values. So you have to, it's just a constant, you know, I remember their hair was a big thing. And they wanted, it's like, oh, I don't want it to stick. And I was like, okay, I'm going back to my childhood. So I'm telling them the same thing. No, they want your hair. You know, your hair is beautiful. It can do this and that and this and that. And they just, it worked, right? But I think parenting, it's tough, because again, once your kids leave your safe home, as when I remember, they'll actually be introduced to hatred. And not because of anything they've done, it's just what they look like. And my daughters went through that in school. Actually, one of them went through the school. She was called the N-word. And here I go, my gosh, you know, I went through it, she's going through it. So what's really changed? Because when you go to school, you should have, the only thing you should be worried about are your grades, your education. You shouldn't have to worry about being subjected to racial slurs or being treated unjustly by your teachers or classmates. Like, that shouldn't be, especially, and then we put so much pressure on these kids to be productive and get those grades, and how could they even get to that point when, as they step into school, they're being victimized. So parents have a hard time, or guardians, because there are guardians of all sorts. There's grandparents, there's uncles, there's different people. There's people that have foster children. So anyone who's in that position, the position of taking care and being the guardian for kids, it's a tough job, and it doesn't ever end.
A study examining the effects of racial discrimination on the well-being of African Canadians in British Columbia in 2018 found that adolescents who experienced racial discrimination were 97% more likely to have considered suicide and more than 2 times as likely to have attempted suicide than adolescents who did not report experiencing racial discrimination.
I expose them to everything. I'm a part of a hip-hop festival. He comes to the festival. When I teach dance classes, when I was doing Zoom, he's in the background. You know, when I watch TV, when I'm watching Fresh Prince, he's watching it with me. You know, yeah. He is very inquisitive, and I talk to him. I keep it real with him as well, you know. And one big thing for me is the whole sexualization of our kids today. I'm coming from a household where we never talked about sex, and I don't know if I would have ever, because right in high school, like, I moved away. So knowing what now elementary school kids are already talking about and high school kids are talking about, I'm educating myself on that, because it's very important to understand it, because when he comes to me with something, I can't just be like, no, pack your shit, get out. I'm not denying my child. I know I gave birth to a boy, but if he turns to me and says, I want to be a woman, you better be the baddest. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not how I was raised, and I wouldn't wish it on him. But I also realize that the time that we're in, we can't avoid it, and I can't block it, because again, we're in a state of healing, and my son's not going to go without me because he's exploring, or I just know that he needs my support, like we all do. I need my community's support. So it's on me to also educate them what our children are about to go through, because some are just not. They're not hearing it. They're not seeing it. You're the ones that are going to get left behind, you know? So all I can say is I'm doing the best I could do to raise him. Whether it's good enough or not, I don't really give a shit, because it's what I can do. It's what I'm given. I'm all for my Black community. Like, you know, I love my Black community, and I'm always putting in time and putting in work. But when we talk about the Black community, who are we really talking about? And what are we really talking about? There's so many gaps that need to be bridged. It's not just seniors and youth, because homosexuality, like, there's Black homosexuals. Do you know what I'm saying? Are they not a part of the Black community because they're homosexuals? Because above all, before I'm man or woman, I'm Black. But like, one thing that really does bother me is that every time we have these community groups, I don't see enough of the trans, or, you know, enough of the differences in our community. I don't see enough of us in one room talking about what's going on. And it's just to come to an understanding. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle. I don't give a shit. Excuse my language, like, but I don't care, you know? Yeah. But like, I don't care about your sexuality. I don't live that. And you're not imposing yourself on me, because I know who I am as MsBeen. So it shouldn't bother nobody else. So I question that too, for so many people that have a bias, or who have like this hatred for different people within our community. What is that hate? Where is it coming from? Because nobody hates you. So yeah, those are doors that we need to kick open, because they're not lightly opening. Like, I'm thinking of conversations that I had, and some people are like, no, we're gonna act like that didn't happen. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll leave the 1800s and the 1900s, because you know, we'll leave that over there. But right now we're 2021. So let's talk about what's going on right now. Are we gonna be able to do that without talking about, you know, what happened when we were enslaved? Some people are just not ready for those conversations.
When I see in social media or whatnot, when people say Black girl magic, it actually irritates me, because it just puts us in the place where it doesn't matter what you do to us, we're good. And that is not true. When I think about the strong Black woman, and there's actually a friend of mine, and he always calls me superwoman, and he calls different, and I said, please don't say that, because it's okay to feel weak. You know, it's actually, that's okay. It's okay to have your moments where you cannot do it. Stress is something that kills us. And For my daughters, you know, no matter what I say, they're gonna see what I do. And what I've done for the longest time was be that strong Black woman. And that is, that's not a good thing. So they should be able to see their mother fall and break down. So why do we, and many, I've spoken to many mothers, and it's like, you have those moments where you go in the bathroom to cry because you don't want anyone to see you. But why? Because then it shows them, so, oh, nothing could, like, mommy's always good. Mommy's always, no matter what, she's always good. And I'm not always good. The way I deal with it is I stay silent and I stick to myself. Have I been successful? Kind of, I guess. But I know there's a lot of work to be done. And I think Black women, I'll speak for Black women particularly, we have to, I think we need to remove ourselves with, and I don't even know if we put that on ourselves in terms of strong Black women. I don't even know where it came from. But I think it's dangerous. It's really dangerous because there's just this, people expect it. And then when that doesn't happen, you may consider that a failure as a Black woman. And that's hard, that's tough. I don't know any other race, gender, anyone that has that much responsibility except for us. Like, we should be able to write our own narrative. Why can't we? I don't know. I find it hinders us. And and ultimately that's going to hinder our children, and male or female or whatever. Like, it's gonna hinder them because there are those, and I think it's also in line with the angry Black woman as well. Like, it's just all, and I don't know who wrote this narrative, because I know I didn't, and I've been trying to live up to it for the longest time, and it's exhausting, and it's not healthy at all.